Hi there, I'm Kai. Me and my partner Nui, we are doing the presentation review today. So it's about globalizing literacy, and the issue is the challenges of the ethnolinguistic diversity in New Zealand. And in case if you don't know ethnolinguistic, it means some sort of linguistic. It's relevant to the ethnic minorities because there are huge number of ethnic minorities who are living in New Zealand now. Yeah. Now, in this chapter, we break down to 8 parts. So the first one is background of the study, and the second one is the purpose of the study. And move on is about methodology, the third one, and the fourth one is theory. And after that is results and interpretation, and conclusion, critique, and question. So that's all of them we need to focus on today. Let's kick off from the background of study. So now our focus is about the issue happened in New Zealand. It's about local literacy challenges. So in this case, a lot of immigrants and a lot of younger kids, they cannot read and write in their own language, and they can also cannot write a perfect English. So in this case, the backdrop of the study is about global ethno-linguistic diversity, and another factor is required transliteracy skills. So in case you don't know this point, transliteracy, what does that mean? It means a lot. So basically, it means you can write, read, and interact across different platforms. So that's very basic and very important skills for younger generation acquired in their schooling systems. Now, in this chapter, the purpose of the study and the researcher shed light on literacy issues regarding some three literacy scenarios. So these three literacy scenarios are very important. So it's a main focus of this article, and it's about New Zealand issues happened a lot in the classroom. And the second purpose is some explanations of required transliteracy skills in global contexts. So as I said before, this skills transliteracy is very important. It can help students to read, write, and interact across different platforms like the pictures show a student can write something at their table and they can read aloud, or they can just interact with other children in the class. Yeah. For the methodology, it includes 4 parts here. So participants, and second one is procedure, third one is data, the last one is analysis. So for the participants, there should be some teachers and some EL students. So ELs means they are learning English as their second language. And for there are 3 different groups of children in the class, like 3 to 4 years old, and 5 to 6 year old, and 9 to 10 years old. That's enough. And for teachers, both of them are coming from the elementary school, so but they are in 4 different schools. And last but not least, we are focusing on the only one region called Central North. Is highlighted with the color of yellow. So in this region, people are living in a very poor standard of living. So their education is so bad. So the researcher want to focus more on this region. Yeah. As for the procedures, we have 3 different kind of scenarios. The first one is baking class. In this case, the teachers are English speakers. The learning of younger children is supported by the older one. And the second scenario is about crossword game. And the class teacher encouraged students to become a peripheral participant, but not outside of class. They give some supporting to the younger kids. And also they get some help from the native speakers English teacher in the class in order to assist their progress in the class. And the third scenario is about recount writing. So in this situation, an EL student And I remember she comes from Indian and she can speak perfect English with her native English speaker. And her teacher always speaking English at all the time in the class. So it's very successful, but they don't practice a lot about Indian or Hindu or something else. In this chapter, there are several different ways to sporting data. So the first one is about videotape. So the researcher tries to record everything happened in the physical class, and she wants to figure out how it looks like in the reality and how to teach uh, younger kids for these professional teachers. And the second one is about observations. So it's the way like interacting with students and interacting with teachers and observing some behaviors between them. And the last one is about interviews. So the interviews are conducted by the researcher and teachers. So after class, the teachers will give some comments on what it looks like in the class and what happened in the classroom. And after that, the researcher will analyze every detail in this article. Okay, now we get into the final part for analysis. For the theoretical paradigm, it should be the interpretivist, because the researchers tries to give us a bit of understanding what it looks like for the literacy issues happening in New Zealand and in the backdrop of ethnolinguistic diversity situation. She's doing a lot of research. She's doing a lot of analysis procedures. So, and we think that should be interpretivist. And for the type of research, it should be qualitative, because the research procedures and the results and interpretations deal with different words meaning. So it's not about number, and that's it.
Well, in this research, there are two theories. First of all, tail effect. This theory explains that socioeconomic level influence student learning outcome. So in this case, this theory try to address that the low student learning income of EL students in New Zealand is influenced by the low socio-economic level. As we know that the focus area of this research is in low socio-economic school. And the second one, the theory from Leaf and Wenger, 1991, called legitimate peripheral participation. So basically, this theory talking about community of practice. So students get knowledge and experience when they working together with other students. As we know that from scenario 1, 2, and 3, all of them working collaboratively. Now we are talking about result and interpretation. So for the first scenario is about baking process. So the result is small student was successful to finish the baking activities. Even the recipe book was written in English. So the scenarios show us that students understand the concept and also the content. And the most important is they have confidence to use English in the learning process. And the second scenario is about crossword activity. So the result is new student from Papua New Guinea engage with English student in crossword activities. It means that teacher flexibility to provide student with special learning experiences is very important, because it's not just help them to understand the concept, but also increase their ability to speak English in the learning process. The last scenario is about recon writing. So the result is a Hindi student capable to follow the instruction from the teacher, and so he can read and write in English. And actually, the teacher can speak Hindi as well, but the teacher tried to speak English to him in order to help him familiar with English and also can improve his English in the learning process. Now we look at to the conclusion. So first of all, again, education policy become a barrier. As we know, in this context, New Zealand education, teaching content and teaching instruction all are in English. However, their student itself are very diverse, so it became a barrier. And the second conclusion is about ethnolinguistic diversity. As a teacher, we cannot deny that sometimes ethnolinguistic diversity become an inhibiting factor for us to implement transliteracy skill because our student is very diverse. Therefore, now and in the future, we need more and more professional educator to implement transliteracy to enhance knowledge and skills for our students. We have some critique for this research. There are strength and weakness. First of all, about strength, we really appreciate the researcher to provide us with this example how to implement transliteracy in the class, and through these scenarios is really insightful and helpful for us as a teacher. However, refer to Gibbons 2002, it is also important for us as a teacher to include academic language in our teaching process. And second one is this scenario was created based on previous research, which means that it is based on evidence-based practice. So we can revert to this research, and but again, there is some. I think there is a weakness of this research. These three scenarios were applied in a small group. However, in reality, we need to apply this example in the big class. So I think it's quite difficult to implement this scenario. Of course, we get insight from this research, especially about transliteracy possibility. It is very critical for us as a teacher to create transliteracy possibility in our teaching process. As Bell Hooks said, that teaching should not be limited to formal class, but how we can bring life experience into learning process to our student. The last but not least, we have comment as well for this research. We know that nowadays students are very diverse, so refer to Farr et al. 2009, language and literacy instruction must be considered ethnolinguistic diversity. And also, transliteracy actually can be effective teaching tool. Therefore, refer to Havios 2018, transliteracy is required for successful adaptation of literacy practice in the classroom. Well, finally, we already talked about ethnolinguistic diversity, transliteracy, three scenario, and some issue in New Zealand education. So now, let we discuss. Do you think that three scenario of this study can be applied at all levels of education? As we know that this research was conducted in preschool and primary school. So do you think that it is possible to apply it in higher level of education? Yeah, let's discuss. And yeah, this is references that we use for comment and critique for this research. You can have a look. And the last, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to me, Nui and Kai. We hope that you get some insight from our presentation, as we know that we are facing ethno-linguistic diversity in our classroom. But I just want to remind us that as a teacher, we are special. As Erika Devani said, that teacher takes a hand, open mind, and touch a heart of every student. So, thank you.